Okay. I just don't want to sound like I'm reading something. But I know that like my first line is going to sound like I'm reading something. And I'm just like, there's no organic way to be like, my mom always told me, don't complain about a problem unless you're going to offer a solution. That wasn't bad. So here we are. Nothing I say is serious. I'm just too broke to be sued for defamation or something by Disney. Not too broke to be hired. The gag is that I actually am. I couldn't afford to live in LA, and when I was applying to an internship at Lucasfilm back in college, my application canceled out because I couldn't house myself over there. Didn't even get the option to couch surf. Not that I would. Something I do often is complain about missed opportunities in storytelling, especially when it comes to adaptations, the romance category, costuming, nerddom. I have an entire Pinterest board dedicated to that pastime. It's called What Could Have Been. You'll come to find out that I have a nice range of interests when it comes to media, but for today, we're tackling the ROUS that is Disney Studios. Again, don't sue me. I'm going to do my best to dive into this video because I'm sure it will be on the longer side. Hi, I'm Tyler J. Jones. The J is for Jacqueline, and I create stories under the name Tyler Jacqueline. If you don't know, I'm an illustrator, an aspiring author, an incessant talker. I have a lot to say, and sometimes in public spheres, I share my words. This is one of those times. Before I hit the imaginary water I'm diving into, I will preface with you don't have to agree with me or like my thoughts and takes, but I do ask that you're respectful here. Also, I'm not a screenwriter, so I don't have a script. Nonetheless, I consider myself a capable storyteller. I like my own ideas. I'm sure that's a normal trait to have. This pitch is pretty informal, but detailed. I love developing narratives. I got my degree in communication arts, and recently I heard George Lucas is opening a museum of narrative art, and I truly think that the title makes a lot more sense for what it is that I do. So, without further ado, just kidding. I just like the idea of the segue. I'm illustrating my concept design for the poster while I go through my pitch. If you like, comment, subscribe, then I'll have a reason to make another video like this. I'm joking. I make whatever content I do for me, and then hope it becomes for someone else. Moving on. I want to start by prefacing I'm not the kind of person that looks at a piece of animated art and thinks, ooh, what would this be like in live action? I'm in the camp of people that feels a lot more media should be animated, and I think that a lot of adaptations would benefit from being told in animation. However, the current landscape of Hollywood, in this continued era of reboots, remakes, and adaptations, animation isn't the go to. For Disney lately, sequels and remakes of animated classics seems like the strategy that will continue on, and the only thing I can think of to justify their existence is making a story that will resonate with audiences and be a companion to the original. The next upcoming in development adaptation, as far as I know, is Tangled. I've seen rumored castings and some of the speculation surrounding this project, supposedly from Disney, and honestly, it doesn't make me all that hopeful. Fan suggestions are the headcanon I'm participating in, and because I tend to go on long winded rants about what I would do with these movies, I guess I decided to share my ideas and frustrations online. Yeesh. This pitch of mine will bear nods and similarities to other animated films and or to the original Tangled movie, as well as the concept art. Most of these nods are on purpose, some are hilariously coincidental, like Pascal having a crossbow. We will get into that, I promise. For a while, I was struggling with the sequencing for this pitch. In my notes, I have my thoughts categorized by what I want to see happen: the goals, the theme, the costumes, the music, things to consider, and then the plot. I want to be as concise as possible, not redundant, nor repeat myself as I have a habit of doing. I want to start with things to consider. There are a lot of complaints and frustrations about the existence of and the state of live action remakes and adaptations. I won't go into a whole spiel about the difference between an adaptation and a remake, and the misuse of the terms, as well as the misunderstanding of the terms that has led to some poor reception over the years. What I will touch on are a few of the things I notice are the biggest or most glaring issues with some of the live actions, in no particular order of importance: castings, visuals, story changes, and subsequent character changes. Specific to Disney's remakes, music. With casting, you won't please anyone ever, but in my opinion, there should be a goal of accuracy when it comes to appearance. I understand that acting capabilities play into the final decision, but I find it hard to believe that given open casting calls, there isn't a person capable of looking and embodying the part. Your casting shouldn't unintentionally usurp the plot and or themes. On to the visuals. I actually typed insert sigh in my notes. Can we please, for the love of God, stop with the Party City costumes? I don't like to be harsh on the internet. I don't want to say not nice things about people's work in this way, but enough is enough. Because what are we doing? You cannot peak at your second outing. Cinderella was top tier in the dress department, and I long for the days. I have a quote by my best friend. The children yearn for big ball gowns. She's not wrong. End quote, I will say. You're not going to have me see film and television like Emma from 2020, the new Frankenstein that just came out, the Gilded Age TV series, Mirror Mirror, the movie from 2012, the Narnia films 2005 and on, even Into the Woods in 2014, Alice in Wonderland in 2010. And some of these are Disney that I've mentioned. And then we have designers like Miss Sohi that just exist. A content creator I follow, I will insert his name because I can't read this phonetically. It's like John M. Villa 2. I guess I can read it phonetically. Anyway, posted a short on Schiaparelli's Spring 26 collection, and his first sentence is like, "What do you mean this is made out of 6,000 paintbrushes? You must be joking." I'm not saying you have to have runway designers, but just quality. Please stop designing your gowns based on toys. Or scenarios like she shouldn't wear a corset to be on a horse or running through the forest. She would if she borrowed the dress from royalty nobility and never plans to do those things. Let me not rant in parentheses. Cosplayers are doing these costumes so well, and it's because they're fans. They love the story and the characters, so they treat the art with respect and care and with craft. I have nothing more to say. Just kidding. I probably will have more to say. And yes, I take it back. There is more to say. You are ruining my immersion with these pristine looking outfits. Drag it through the mud. Something. However, for Tangled, it wouldn't make unsense for Rapunzel to look so clean because she's never been outside. But everyone else, by comparison, should look a bit rough. I want the visuals to emphasize the narrative. Stepping away from the costume aspect, film in a forest, be on location as much as you can. Let it be lovely. Film on film again. Or make your digital look like it's shot on film. In my humble opinion, if 5,000 individual candles can be lit in Cinderella 2015, Disney's live action, I'm telling you, they had it good when they had it, we can release as many lanterns, and it wouldn't even have to be that many. Like, sure, you can CGI some if you have to, but you don't. Just employ people. Imagine being cast as a villager for this kingdom. Maybe we shouldn't have it named Corona anymore. And part of your job is to participate in a workshop where you craft your lantern for the lighting scene. Anyway, plenty of fantasy TV shows are filmed on location. Why can't these live actions do the same? And if or when they are filmed on location, show off how pretty these places are. Last thing on visuals, can we bring back camera work? I don't see why a kids movie has to have all of these stagnant medium shots. It's boring to look at, and it doesn't tell me anything about the characters like good cinematography can do. If you want to know what good cinematography can do, go check out Cinematherapy because one of them's a therapist, one's a filmmaker, and that guy talks all the time about what camera work and good camera work can do. Just a little plug of a channel that I like. Anyway, honestly, I didn't think I'd have so much to say on the visuals, but being an artist just makes sense. But your girl is an author too. That brings us to the story changes. I'll make this as brief as possible because I will be detailing all of the plot points I want to make. A lot of these story changes don't serve the narrative, nor the narrative function. Often the pacing is affected, character development is affected, and there are overall plot holes that could be avoided with a bare minimum of going beyond idea number one. The same can be said for the characters. The soul, integrity, agency, and intelligence of the characters tend to go through the ringer because of unnecessary pandering changes. I mentioned the music as part of the complaints, but I will touch on that in the music section. So, with the complaints out of the way, I will address some elements that might not fit as well in the live action and what my solution is. Maximus. How do we get such an animated, expressive, witty personality across in a horse in a live action realistic setting? You don't. The problem is, cutting out Maximus is cutting out a lot of the narrative. Not story, the narrative. because the story does not function as well when narrative pieces, like an entire character, are cut out. We saw what happened without Mushu. Need I say more? I could, but I won't. Pascal, how do we get an animated, expressive, witty personality across in a chameleon in a live action realistic setting? You kind of don't. Again, we cannot cut out Pascal. Oh, the solution is not to CGI them. My solutions are Maximus is to be split into two characters, a horse and a man. Maximus is the horse. Majority of the personalities that play off of Flynn, Eugene, like we personify. And we get a new character. His name will be a nod to the fact that he's a human version of Maximus. The name I landed on is Atticus. I have my reasons. For Pascal, we give him a crossbow. And he can still change colors to reflect his mood. Instead of beating his little fist, he can turn red. But if chameleons can hold tiny swords and tiny crossbows, they might be able to beat their little fist, so Pascal is the exact same in theory. Just in case, instead of Rapunzel making him a dress, she'll make him little armor, and he'll take his tiny crossbow with them on their adventure. But no CGI! We either go for it or we don't. I'm not playing these games. Either get a real chameleon or no chameleon. I don't want or need a CGI Pascal. You may or may not believe me, but it is still true. My bestie and I decided upon Pascal having a tiny crossbow before, and I mean the literal night before, I found out via concept art that Rapunzel almost had a crossbow herself. So now it's a nod. That leads me to the next category of this pitch, the goals. My goal is to enhance the existing elements of the story we all love while introducing some new elements to further develop some pre existing themes and introduce some new concepts to drive home the message. I don't want to do a shot for shot remake, but I also don't want to disrespect what was. Like, we'll keep some iconic lines and moments for the fans, but also for the fans, I want to give them something different, not something unexpected, or rather jarring. For me, I don't mind a story being a bit predictable as long as I enjoy being along for the ride. Specifically to Tangled, my goals are to deepen the connection between Rapunzel and her parents. I want to emphasize how painful the loss is for the three of them. To deepen the romance between Rapunzel and Eugene, emphasize their shared desire slash nostalgia and longing for the past and future, both of them kind of feeling like some dreams might not be attainable, while also doing whatever it takes to get the dream they're chasing. Make Mother Gothel more desperate, more ruthless. Another possible exploration could be, is there a reason why she wants to stay young slash alive? Not like all the way interested in exploring that personally, but it could be an interesting thing to dive into. Then connect Gothel's actions to the secondary and side characters within the story. So, with the goals out of the way, and I'll expand on these ideas within the plot details, I'll mention the themes I want to explore. So, what are you willing to do for your dreams? Can you make peace with what's before you and behind you? I'm hoping that with this story, the audience can take something away from the actions and aspirations, maybe ask questions based on the story. I love being able to leave with something when I consume media. Preferably, I'm creating the kind of media I want to experience. So far, I think so. Briefly on costumes, I mentioned some thoughts regarding the costuming, so I'll add in a bit more, but not like ranty this time. I'd like to lean into the original concept art as well as some historical elements to be incorporated in with styling and accessorizing. Though, given that there isn't one set period for the Rapunzel story, let alone the Disney version, there's a few centuries to look to. A visual nod still. We're looking at some Tudor style, some 18th and 19th century France, a bit of Regency, based on the search results I was given. I love the style of the animated Tangled project, not limiting myself to the film. It's a beautiful, rich in texture, vibrant piece of art, and I want that vibrancy and charm to shine. A change I'd like to make, bear with me, is to have Rapunzel wearing her green dress from the original concepts and incorporate a costume change into the lilac dress. I'll say more on that later. Last thought on costumes. Rapunzel's outfit is a top and a skirt. I'd like it to stay as a top and a skirt. Something I'm still ruminating on is how to tackle the hair. One of my main thoughts is to kind of have like the hair length, I'd have those be extensions, go down to the ankle, so that for majority of the shots you see Rapunzel with a long length of hair, And then the actress will also move as though she has a long length of hair. For the eventual braided style, you'd already have the length needed to work with if it goes down to the ankle. As for the still shots or a slower pace scene, have the 70-foot extensions. For the action shots, her running, I guess you'll have to CGI. Here's my thing. Vecna from Stranger Things is practical and has CGI elements. Nothing wrong with that. Let's do the same for Rapunzel's hair. Somewhat part of the costuming as well. It'll tie into the plot, but I don't see Rapunzel's hair working prehensile. So Flynn's satchel will include more tactical items. I'm contemplating doing some concept art to go along with this. If I do, I'll upload it to my Patreon. For the music. Bring back Alan Menken. And can we add in Patrick Doyle for the score? While we're at it, maybe Kenneth Branagh should direct. Something I'd love is playing with and creating like something to go along with the motif for like the incantation song, which in my version of this live action, I'm calling it the morning song. And that's morning spelled Morning, but that's kind of like a double entendre of calling it the morning song. We can kind of understand why, but I will get into the lyrics later. Anyway. So, I would like that little motif to play whenever the lanterns lift into the sky and in other places where the motif fits with the narrative. I'd love to have an additional song for Rapunzel, Rapunzel, Flynn, and Atticus, who's my stand-in for Maximus. Think If I Can Do It from Anastasia, musical nod. I mean, she's going to have an outfit change, so why not? My idea at first was for the parents to have a song all their own, something sung to the original melody of the incantation song, and it could be played over a semi montage of Rapunzel as she's growing up without them. That ends up being where the morning song comes from, how I ended up with the reprise, kind of. I do think the parents getting an original new duet would be nice, especially given another one of my plot changes. I wrote additional verses for the incantation song, now the morning song, and the idea is to have this be a well known song that would be like sung throughout the kingdom during grief or mourning. As far as the narrative goes, I'm still thinking on why or how this song specifically is magical. I don't think it's explained in Tangled where the song came from, but that doesn't mean my live action pitch couldn't have an explanation, even if the explanation isn't mentioned in the film. Can't have too much world building. Now, I will mention my castings of who I will position as main characters and secondary characters. The three main characters are Rapunzel, Flynn/Eugene, and Mother Gothel. My picks are Emma Myers, Asher Angel, formerly Cameron Cuffey, and Catherine Hahn. The secondary characters are the Queen, the King, Atticus, and the Stabbington brothers. My picks are Amanda Seyfried, Eddie Redmayne, Thomas Brodie Sangster, and TBD for the Stabbington brothers at the time of writing and now recording the script. If you have suggestions for the brothers, let me know. Now, my casting choices do play into my plot choices, so if you're giving me Stabbington Brothers suggestions, I do ask that you take my pitch into consideration. My casting for Amanda Seyfried is a nod to the fact that she's been fan casted so often as Rapunzel, and to me, she looks like Emma. And because I wanted the parents to sing, I had to think of a male actor who could sing with Seyfried, and immediately I had my pick. Empty chairs, empty tables is the reason why I picked Eddie Redmayne to be the dad/king. Like, should he have a small Dan Stevens Evermore moment? He can. And it's part of my plot details. If you find a post from my threads, you'll notice that I had picked Cameron Cuffey for Flynn. That was based on acting and looks and is no longer my choice. The reason why I picked Asher Angel is because I wanted to lower Eugene's age a bit and go for someone, this is based on my familiarity, who can believably portray deep, touching emotions while still being a charismatic, fun personality. The Zachary Levi Asher Angel connection is not lost on me now, but it was several weeks ago when I started this script. Truly coincidental. On the topic of singing and acting, Catherine is obvious. I don't need to explain her. Thomas Brodie Sangster is fully capable of delivering what's needed to be a stand-in for Maximus as Atticus. Emma is my personal favorite choice for Rapunzel because I trust in her acting abilities. I think she brings such a vibrant presence on screen while being capable of delivering nuance and complexities to her roles. When I narrowed down my pick, I wanted to go with someone who could pull off brunette and blonde, preferably someone who's a natural brunette like Rapunzel. It's obvious that Emma can don both hairstyles, and plus, she looks like Rapunzel in the face. Back to the topic of singing. If Emma, Asher, and Thomas can't sing, I don't care. Typically, I do. But for this instance, I have to stand by the vision. And my vision is supported by the fact that in The Greatest Showman, Lauren Allred sang dubbed for Rebecca Ferguson. Dub 'em all. I see no issue with employing more people. Let's do a vocal talent search if we want. Now, if you're still here, still interested, or possibly more interested, we are ready to take on the plot.